is that
That was the cake.
The brownies.
we finally discovered, at least Shmuel thinks that he is the we got to the end of the chapter, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had the battle against the Pelishtim, we won, and miraculously, and we didn't carry on the battle because the Urim Tumim wouldn't answer Shaul, and then they did a lottery, find out, well, the lottery came up with Yonasan, and the people saved Yonasan from death, claiming that it couldn't be that God was annoyed with him because the whole miracle happened through him, so it's very, very unlikely that it's Yonasan's fault. But then it doesn't really conclude, so who was to blame? My suggestion was it was Shaul was to blame because he hadn't carried out the original prophetic instructions properly, and he was even told he was going to lose the Melucha because of that.
And then he ripped the...
No, that's right? That's what you read on your own. And then he so maybe that's the reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu didn't answer him, because he wasn't so happy with him. And maybe, just maybe, I'm a bit hesitant to say it, as you can tell, that that was the reason why Yonasan was blamed in the lottery, because it was actually the wrong answer. Right, just like God didn't speak to him through Tumim, maybe God wasn't speaking through the lottery. Somebody has to come out of the lottery. If you put two pieces of paper in and you pull out one, you've got to get one of them out. So,
plus, that would be a very divine punishment if he ended up killing his son for the wrong reason.
Correct. So in the end, it worked out good, right? Because they were saved. So that's okay. So we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, so it could be that Shaul took the message and that's why he went out on a battle, defending Jews from their enemies, attacking their enemies, and it looks like he was doing well. And we talked about his sons and his daughters and his chief of staff, and that was the end of the story. Okay, next chapter. Very, very, very important, very decisive chapter in Shaul's life. I think we're going to read this chapter this Shabbos, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah.
What? In Mufti?
Yes,
Whoa.
I think so.
Is it the
I think
same
it's the
every
Mafti
time,
of
or is
Pasha
it different?
Zohar. No, for Pasha Zohar, because this is the Shabbos before Purim.
Yeah.
Right, Purim is next week. So the Shabbos before Purim, we read about, from the laning, we read about called Pasha Zohar, where the Torah says Zohar es asher Shaul HaMelech
read his
v'tzeichem miMitzrayim, yeah, asher korcha b'derech. Right, I'll read it from here. Let me show you.
Doesn't have that Torah.
It does. I mean, yes, it does, but it has them in the right place instead of having Haftarahs. It has them. So let's just read that together. It's the end of Parshas Kiseitze in the Book of Devarim. It says like this. We read it and everyone stands up and everyone listens to every single word, because it's the fulfillment of a biblical commandment. One of the 613 commandments is to read Parshas Zohar once a year. We could read it any time of the year. It doesn't say in the Torah when to read it, but we read it this week, because it is about as follows. You remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were leaving Egypt. Just as we left Egypt, just as we crossed the Red Sea, as we learned in Parshas Beshalach, which was a few weeks ago, Amalek attacked. That he happened upon you on the way, and he struck those of you who were hindmost, all the weaklings at your rear, when you were faint and exhausted, and he did not fear God. It shall be that when Hashem your God gives you rest from all your enemies all around, the land that Hashem your God gives you as an inheritance to possess it, you shall wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the heaven, you shall not forget. So, it's not so clear exactly how you're supposed to fulfill this commandment. Obviously, one of the ways to fulfill this commandment is to wipe out Amalek, right? Eliezer? Right? That's what it says clearly. But it also says, remember what Amalek did to you. So one way to remember it is to wipe them out. But even if you're not able to wipe them out, it's still a mitzvah to remember, and that's why it's called Parshas Zohar, because that's what it says. Zohar, you shall remember. It doesn't say how often. Some people do this mitzvah every day. Right? After davening, you'll see printed in the Siddur, there are 6 things to remember. One of them is Amalek, but the general custom is to do this once a year, and that's what we do on Parshas Zohar.
Is it like the whole Parsha?
No, we just do this.
It's just the
I mean, at the end of, well, it's not really the Mafti. No.
It's 3 lines. Isn't it?
Yes, it is the Mafti, so it is the Mafti, right? We do 6 Aliyahs, then instead of doing the Mafti, we take out another Sefer Torah and read these 3 Pesukim.
6 Aliyahs, not 7 Aliyahs.
7.
No, it's a 7 Aliyah. There's usually 8 Aliyahs. We do 7,
And
and then we do the Mafti. So here we do 7, instead of doing the Mafti, which is reading the last 3 or 4 Pesukim again, that's what we usually do. Instead of doing that, we don't do that, we read this instead.
And
This
but
is-
why wouldn't we read this when it's the this Parsha?
We do.
So we read it twice.
Yes, we read it twice a year, correct. You actually sometimes you read it 3 times a year.
Really?
When Purim falls out on
Twice.
Shabbos, so this is the reading for Shabbos as well. So as well as the Shabbos beforehand, it's actually that means we read. It says here, Maftir Pasha Zochar. It could be when Purim's on Shabbos.
I think Purim.
You can in Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
In Chutz you can't. In Yerushalayim they can be on Shabbos. It's called Purim Mishulish. Then you read the end of Parshas
But also, what about when there's 2 Adars?
Still.
In the first order.
Then you
the second.
keep Purim in the second Adar.
But you could read it in both of those.
No, it's.
The reading for Purim. Sorry, the reading for Purim is Vayava Amalek, the actual story of Amalek attack. Right? But Pasha Zochar is the story. The difference is, I think that the Haftarah, when Purim is on Shabbos, is the same as the Haftarah of Pasha Zochar, and then you have 2 Haftarahs, one after the other. If I'm not mistaken, the same one, which is what we're about to learn now. So what's the connection between Amalek and Purim?
Because
Haman was descended from Amalek. Right, exactly. And so that's what our mitzvah is, to destroy all the people like our enemies, like Haman. Okay? So the Haftarah of Pasha Zochar, so see, how do you work out Haftarah? You go here, go to our chapter, Shmuel Aleph, chapter 15, and it will say on the side of the page, here. See this double line there on the side? That grey line?
Mm-hmm.
That indicates it's a Haftarah, and it says over here, Haftarah of Pasha Zochar. Now, the reason why it's got 2 lines is to show Ashkenazi and Sephardi. Because Ashkenazim start here, right? And Sephardim start the pasuk beforehand. And do we end at the same place? Yes. So it's just one pasuk difference. Maybe we'll try and understand why it's that pasuk different. We'll see in a second. Okay, so what we're reading now, what we're about to learn now is this week's Haftarah.
Cool.
Okay, chapter 15. Page
41.
41.
At the top.
Okay, it's a long chapter again. So we finished that battle, and he's been fighting the Amalekites and the Moabites and the Ammonites and all the people around, the people of Tzava, Edomites. All of these people have been fought against by Shaul and defeated. Okay, there's one last enemy who we have to defeat is Amalek. Now, although it was mentioned there, probably there was just summarized all the people. Now we're actually getting into the battle against Amalek. That is the story of this chapter. Shmuel el Shaul. Shmuel says to Shaul, I see, that means me. Shalach Hashem, God sent. Shalach Hashem, God sent. Oti, God sent me. Limshachacha, to anoint you. Mishachacha, as in Mashiach, to anoint you in Melech. Now he's not saying God has told me now to anoint you. It means, because he's already been anointed, right? It means God sent me in the past, not sent me now, to anoint you as king. Al Amoy, on his people. Al Yisrael, that's over Israel. V'ata, and now, Shema, listen, L'koil, to the voice, Divrei Hashem, of the words of God. That is the whole paragraph. That's the whole story. And that is the debate between Ashkenaz and Sephardim, where that's part of the Haftarah of this week. Right? Because it's, you'll see. I mean, it's an introduction. It's a very important introduction, and it needs a lot of explanation. What has the fact that you anointed him got to do with the rest of it? Yes, we know you were anointed. We know anointed in the past. And now means the instructions that I'm giving you now are somehow related to the fact that you were anointed. Maybe that was the reason why God anointed you. The people wanted a king for their reasons. Why did God want you as a king? Why does God need a king? Because God wants you to do the following job. So God sent me to anoint you over the Jewish people.
Oh.
And now listen to the words. And it doesn't just say listen to the words of God, does it? What does it say? Listen to the voice of the words of God. That's interesting, no? Listen to the sound or the voice of the words of God. Just say listen to the words of God.
But is the voice of God, or does he mean himself?
Wait, it means a message that God gave him. He's going to say, Ko'ama Hashem, so says God. So this is a message from God. Listen to the sound of the words of God.
This first line is the extra line that Sephardi say.
As a Haftarah, it's in part of the Tanach.
Yeah, in the Haftorah.
I think Sfarim don't say this line. Right. Maybe Sfarim do say it. Anyway, there's a debate. Some do, some don't. Okay. I think Sfarim don't say it. I think Ashkenazim say it. Yeah. Okay. God sent me to anoint you over the Jewish people. Strange, isn't it? Because he sent him a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like re-saying what everything
Everybody knows. Everybody knows it. Like I say, it's trying to say, this is why God appointed you as king. Okay. Kaya Hashem. Kaya means thus. So says the Lord. Tzevakot. The Lord of hosts. I mentioned several times, this word first appears in the Book of Shmuel as a word for God. It means an army, right? As a reference to God, it first appears in the Book of Shmuel. Kama Hashem, so says the Lord of the armies of people, of angels, of everything in the world. Parkaditi, I have remembered. Remember. Yes, there is another word for remember, exactly. Pajal Zochar.
Yeah.
Right, is to remember. When it says God remembered Sarah and she came pregnant, it says this word.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? I don't know. It could be, this is just a guess, that when you remember and do something about it, you use the word pakad. You see, the word pakad can mean lots of things. It can also mean to appoint. It can also mean to count. So in that sense, they're all active. To appoint or to... Now, you can appoint someone who you remembered what he did. When you count money, you're remembering how much you've got. Okay? So it could be to remember Amalek and do nothing about it is called Zachar, which is what we have to do. What can you do? There's no Amalekites that we know, so we can't kill them. Right?
Shouldn't we do something about it?
Yeah, but what are you supposed to do if you know Amalek? You don't know any Amalek. Yes, you should do if you can. But even if you can't, there's still a mitzvah to remember. Even just to mention.
Do you remember?
Right? Yeah? You remember Shabbos. How do you remember Shabbos?
Yeah, but you're supposed to light candles.
Like guarding it.
No, but those are two different mitzvahs. One is Zachar, one is Shamar. Zachar just means you make Kiddush, that's all.
Yeah, but you're supposed to, there's an action.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, yes,
There's
there's
an
an
action for
action, but
killing someone,
there's
too.
no action that comes out of your remembering. All you do is remember. And you remember with an action.
Yeah.
You don't do something as a result of that remembering. Pakad means I remember it. Now after remembering, I do something about it. In Shabbos, the mitzvah Zachar is not to then do something, is it? There's another mitzvah called Shamar, which is to keep Shabbos. But in of itself, a mitzvah just to mention. Zachar means to mention, right? You mention it. Well, even I tell you, you don't have to use a Kiddush either, right? You just mention. You say Shabbat Shalom, so you mention. You do the mitzvah of Zachar. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has taken into consideration what they did, and therefore wants you to do something about it. He was actually appointing you to do something. So maybe that's the nuance. Pakadati, I have visited. Right, that's what often means. I visited, not just I remembered. It's I've gone and looked up the files, and we're going to do something about it now. Es asher asa Amalek, that which Amalek did, le Yisrael, to the Jewish people. Asher samlo, that which he placed on him, which really means what he did to him, what Amalek did to the Jewish people. Baderech, on the way, whilst they were on the way, Ba'aloto, when he was going up from Egypt. So the Jews were on a journey and they were leaving Egypt. And the point of stressing the fact they were on the journey is because there was no political reason for Amalek's attack. We weren't attacking them, and they didn't want to get our land. Most wars between nations are either over land or resources or defensive, and this was none of that. We were just walking through the desert. They weren't trying to take our land, we weren't trying to take their land.
They just wanted to kill us.
They just wanted to show the world
Defend God.
that you don't have to be scared of God.
Yeah, isn't a righteous war the most dangerous war? Because the righteous saying that you're right, like what our cousins do a lot. They don't want to take resources or take anything, they'll burn it all to the ground once they get it, because
Right.
it's like,
It's just a question
it's about righteousness.
Right, okay. As long as you're right, that's good. Or if you're wrong, there's a problem. Right. Okay, so Amalek were trying to make a point. God had just saved the Jews miraculously from Egypt and the crossing of the Red Sea. And the crossing of the Red Sea, according to Midrash, everybody knew about it. You read it in the Shiur. The people of this country, they were scared and they were terrified. Now the people around the world are terrified. And Amalek had to make a point. Because if they didn't make a point, then maybe their whole reason to being would be undermined. And therefore they had to come along and attack us, even though they knew they would be
defeated.
Not defeated, that's not the word I wanted, even though they knew they would suffer, right? They would be hurt in the process, but it was worthwhile just showing we're not scared of the Jews. As I'll compare it to someone who is in a hot bath and everyone's scared to go in it, and one idiot comes along and jumps in the bath, and now he cools it down, simply because he's in the bath. But the point is, no one's scared anymore because they've seen somebody do it. And that was what they
Unless
wanted.
he boils alive.
And that was the point, right? So it's even that it does hurt him, right? But they came out damaged, but they're still alive, Amalekites, and therefore you see, you don't have to be so scared of the Jews. That was the point, and that's why God has really got it in for them, because there was all it was a war against him. That's what it was. It was a war against God, and that's why God's got a war against them.
Why did he wait so long?
What?
Why did?
Well, you see in the puzzle that we just read that we have to get. I think that's the point. We have to make clear this is not a political war. It have to be at peace. When we've got rid of all our enemies and everything's so we've got a king and everything's at peace and all everything's controlled. Now is the time to attack Amalek. Because if you do it before then, it looks like you're trying to strengthen your borders. Because Amalek's right. You have to make a clear message that this is not about anything else, but about rectifying the message that the Amalekites inflicted on the world with their actions. Good. I think that's the point. So that's what he says. Now that you're a king, and now that he says, yeah, everything's been sorted out. All these nations around us have all been put in their place. Now it's the time to attack Amalek. Ata, now, lech, go, v'hikisa es Amalek, and you shall strike Amalek. Hikisa like makot, you shall strike Amalek. V'hacharamtem, and you shall. What's the word? Boycott. That's not such a good word. No, it's a better word.
Say in the here.
There's a better word for it. There's a better word for it. To ban. Okay, to put under ban. Right? We use the word cherem. Cherem means stuff which is being banned. Right? For example, the BDS. Right? So in what BDS is? It's a group of anti-Israel. Got together they won't buy things which are made in the Shtachim and stuff, right? Okay, so that's called BDS.
So they're banned.
So they Israel is being banned. People won't buy it. Boycotted. So boycotted is the word. You know what boycott comes from? A guy called Boycott. That was he was some British fellow called Boycott, and he boycotted people, so they called it boycott.
Really?
Yes. Check it out. You believe me? Right? Okay. Just like sandwich.
Yeah, it's an Earl of
So a guy called Earl Sandwich, Lord of Sandwich, or whatever. And he used to eat bread like that because he didn't have time to make proper food. So he made sandwiches.
What's wrong with sandwiches?
Whoa.
You didn't know that? Anyway, that's not
Played a lot of poker and
Yeah.
You didn't have time for proper
Things
food.
you
What's wrong with
learned in
sandwich?
this year.
not proper food.
Says who?
Most of the rest of the world.
Yeah, well now they say it is. So
Okay. All right. Okay, so to put a cherem means a ban. So you're going to have a ban and everything that's in there, as v'acharamta, you shall ban. Now, to ban doesn't just mean you're not going to use, it means to destroy it. Right, that's what it really means. To permanently not use something, you have to destroy it. V'acharamtem eskola sheloi.
gold.
You shall destroy.
They melt the gold. Can't they just take the gold after that?
Right. V'acharamtem eskola sheloi. You shall ban everything that is his. V'lo yisachmol alav. You shall not pity upon him. V'heimata, and you shall cause to die. Met, dead. You shall kill. Me'ish ad isha, from man to woman. Means both men and women. Me'olel v'ad yonek, from the young till the suckling. Means the nursing. Means the youngsters and the babies. Even the babies, the yonek. Yonek means those who are nursing. Misha, that's human beings. So use it, the age or gender, no difference. Mishar va'adseh, whether it's an ox until a sheep. Migamal, from camel, ad chamor, till donkey. Basically, you were to destroy every single thing there, whether it's animate, inanimate, human being, male, female, adult, should totally be destroyed. That's what is the right
Thing to do.
thing to do with God's enemies. Yes.
Mishor, shet.
Mishor, Seh is a sheep.
Sheep. And ox.
Shor is an ox.
Yeah.
Seh is a sheep.
Like
Keves is also a sheep. Right? I think the difference between Seh and Keves is also a sheep. I think that Seh includes goats as well. It's a word for the group sheep and goats are called Seh. I think there's a word in English for sheep and goats together. I don't remember what it's called. Okay? Alright. Fine. Those are the instructions. Very clear instructions. Very clear. Right? I don't think there's any room for interpretation. Very clear. All men, all women, all children, all animals, all goods, everything to be destroyed. Okay. So what does he do? Vayeshama Shaul es ha'am. Now the word Shema means hear. Vayeshama means to make them hear. We've had it before, and Vayizak, which means when you make everyone hear your cry, it means to call people to battle. Yeshama Shaul, we would say he mustered the people to battle. Vayifkedem, and he, same word, pakad. So here means to count. It's the same word, pakad before means to remember, here means to count. And he counted them. How do you count Jews? You don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, because it says in Parashas Ki Sisa.
Money.
You know, right? We learned it last Shabbos, not last Shabbos, the Shabbos before, right? With Parashas Shkalim. He didn't do it with half a shekel, he did it some other way. What did he do? Batzilaim, with
Money?
no, baby sheep.
Baby sheep.
Call them?
Kids? No, that's good. Baby goats.
Right. A baby sheep is a
Lamb.
lamb, very good. So teleh, right, is a lamb. What do you mean? The king had a huge field with tens of thousands of...
The king of Amalek or?
No, the king of Shaul, right? With tens of thousands of lambs. And he told every one of the soldiers who came to his army, go to the field, take one lamb, and take it and put it in the other field. Right? And then they counted all the lambs. That's how they knew how many people they
And
had.
then they fell asleep.
And
how many did they get? Obviously, there's something
We don't
deeper in
know.
this. He could have used half shekels. He could have. There's much easier ways to do that. He must be trying to make a point, but I don't know what it is. Matzayim elef ragim.
You all work for me, so.
200,000 foot soldiers. Regel is a foot, so ragli means foot soldiers. So there's 200,000 foot soldiers. Aseres alafim, and 10,000. Eser is 10. Aseres is construct 10,000. Es Ish Yehuda, the men of Yehuda. Again, this is the second time we've seen it, that the people of Yehuda are counted separately from the rest of the army. Which is interesting because...
Why is there more men of Yehuda than
There's not.
the rest?
There's
2,000 against 10,000.
200,000.
Oh, 200.
There's 20 times more of all the other tribes together. On the contrary, I would say Yehuda is a small tribe.
Yeah.
Even though Yehuda is actually one of the... Usually it's one of the biggest
It should
tribes.
be one of
In the desert, it's one of the biggest tribes. And here, it's only 120 of the rest of the army. In the past, we had... all the factors are different, strange. In the past, when Shaul fought against Ammon, when the king wanted to cut out everybody's eye, he had 300,000 men and 30,000 from Yehuda. There, Yehuda is a tenth of the army, and the army is 50% more. So there's two factors have changed. The army is shrunk, but for no reason that I know of, unless there's been casualties in previous wars. Right?
Which, well, if,
Which is hard to believe.
Do we know how
because
much time has passed?
within 2 years, because we were told the whole of Shaul's reign is only 2 years. So it's very strange that so many people are not joining the army. And what's more strange is the percentages of Yehuda have dropped. Before they were 1/10, and now they're 1/20th. What's your suggestion?
what was my question?
What's your suggestion?
No, I was going to ask a question. Which now I forget. So.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. It's possible that people were upset with Shaul.
Oh yeah, what is the Malbim? Does the Malbim
I
say?
have no idea. If I knew the map, I'll tell you. Right? Maybe people were upset with Shaul. But I really don't know. I mean, I could understand why they were upset with Shaul. because
You disobey the Navi?
yeah, but the question is, did people know that? I imagine that was a private conversation between Shaul and Shmuel. I don't think Shaul went around telling everybody. Shmuel didn't go around telling everybody. So it's hard to believe that Shaul would have lost popularity because of that story. And I can't think anything. Shaul seems to be very popular. He seems to be very good, and I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I have any suggestion. The right thing would be to look at the Malbim, correct. If I had lots of time, then I probably would have done that. I don't know. It could be that I looked in the past and didn't find anything. So, not everybody discusses everything, but it's certainly something to point out. Both the numbers have diminished and the percentage of Yehuda is much less. What to me is interesting is the fact that Yehuda is counted separately at all. When there was a king of Yehuda like David, it makes sense that his troops would be the royal troops and they would be special, right?
But they were already.
But why? Well, I didn't finish my question yet, right? But here, under the reign of Shaul, why should the tribe of Yehuda be singled out to be separate? It would seem that there was something special about them even before they were picked out to be king. Is that what you were going to say? That's what it would seem, right? Maybe based on the bracha of Yaakov, they were always meant to be the royal tribe, and therefore they were always a special unit in the army. That's what it seems. There was something special about Yehuda even before they were actually active.
Well, when Shmuel wrote this down, wasn't David already the king? So maybe he's just going back.
No.
David?
No.
David
Shmuel died before David became king.
David was
anointed him.
anointed.
He never became king. He wasn't an active king until after Shmuel died.
He was anointed after this.
But hold on.
No, he's saying that even though he was anointed after, by the time Shmuel came to write it, David was already anointed. That's true, but he wasn't acting as king until much later, until the end of Shaul's reign, and Shmuel had died by then. Okay, so now there's a very, very interesting pasuk, which is so strange that Chazal have a whole fascinating medrash on it. Now, Shaul came, so he's going out to battle with his 210,000 soldiers, and they're ready to fight against Amalek. Shaul ad Ir Amalek. He came to the city of Amalek. Well, Amalek had a city, presumably means the capital city of Amalek. They didn't just have one city, it was a whole nation. Okay? But they had, this was the capital, Vayorev Banochal. Yorev means to quarrel, as in riv. Riv is to quarrel, not to fight. Understand? You don't use the word Yorev to fight. To fight, you yilochem, to go to war. You have to go. You went to fight Banachal in the valley, or in the whatever, something like that. A nachal is a valley, stream. And we're not talking. Well, it's such a weird pasuk. Like, it doesn't say they started the war, which is the way it's usually stored. But then, if you'll see pasuk Vav, we're continuing the rest of the story. Let's carry on. But Shaul said, it wasn't Shaul said this before, and he said it after pasuk Hey. Shaul said to the Kani. Who are the Kani? Any idea? We had them several times in Tanach. They are descendants of Yisrael.
Oh.
And they were probably Geirim.
Or what?
Geirim, they were converts. Yisrael was a convert, right? Mm-hmm. So his descendants means his cousins and his brothers and his uncles and aunts. He went. Yisrael said, I'm going home, and then he came back afterwards. So he left. Yisrael originally was with the Jewish people around the time of the giving of the Torah. He was there for a short time, and he gave them advice about how to set up the judiciary, and then he left. Moshe Rabbeinu sent him to go on to convert his family. And eventually he came back. And we find them in several places in different stories in Tanakh, in different places in the country. And the reason for that is that they were basically nomads, because they didn't really have their own land. Because by definition, if you're a convert, there's no land for you. The land's already been divided by all the tribes, right? It's very nice, to have free land for converts, but who's going to give up their land? You're going to give it your land? You're going to give up your land? No. So we have to have a whole area we have doing nothing for converts. No, it doesn't work. No society works like that, right? So the land of Israel is divided amongst the tribes, and anyone who converts will have to rent. Okay, but then when you rent, ends up your landlord will evict you, and you have to rent somewhere else. No. So that's we find them all over the place. It means we find the same Canaan at the beginning of Yeshua near Yericho. Then we find them later on near Beersheba, and then in Devaira's time we find them up north. And that Yael, the one who got the guy through his head, right? We learned that a few weeks ago in Parshas Beshalach, right? The song of Devaira, and she talks about Yael. So her husband was a Canaanite, right? And now we find them here down south near Amalek. So it seems that they're nomads. They rent or whatever land from the local landlords, and until they have to move on.
Gypsies.
Yeah. It's not like they're moving it. It's not like they're just plonked there for a month, right? They could rent it for 50 years, 100 years. But it's. I mean, I suppose in Schmidt or in Yovel it'll go back. But they've not got any tribal unit. That's why they're not necessarily in the same place. So they live in this area near Amalek. It could be that they kept also themselves as a separate group. In the sense that they didn't intermarriage. People usually married within their tribal units, and they were married within themselves. They had their own customs and their own things, and that's how it's like my kids all married with Anglo-Saxons. Just how things are. Even though I happen to live in Yerushalayim, there's lots and lots of other Jews they could marry, but we think the same and do the same and talk the same, and that's why they do. That's just how things work out. So probably the same thing as well. So they lived in the area of Amalek. Where Amalek lived, the Canaanite lived too. And now we didn't want them to suffer in the crossfire. And therefore that's why they were following. Shaul HaMelech, he sent the message to them. Lechu, go. Suru, turn away. Redu, come down. They're all sort of giving the same sort of instructions, but making it very clear. Mitoich Amaleki, from amongst the Amalek. Pen, lest Oisifcha imai, I will gather you in together with Amalek. So I don't know who's Amalek, who's not. Can't always tell, right? So we don't want you to die and suffer in the battle. Therefore, I'm telling you to move before we start. And it would be really, really bad if we would harm you. You, means your ancestors, did kindness in Kol Bnei Yisrael, with all the children of Israel. When they went up out of Egypt. Right, remember the story, your ancestor Yisrael, he gave us great advice, and we appreciate that to this day, which this day was like 450 years later. But we don't want to do any harm to you unnecessarily. So what happened? Yosak Keni, so the Keni turned away, like Sur Meirah, to turn away, from being amongst the Amalek. They moved, get up, move, which wasn't so difficult for them, I suppose, because in any case, they're like gypsies, and therefore they don't have a really permanent thing. But whenever they got up, they didn't want to stay around for be part of collateral damage. Now, then it says, Vayach Shaul es Amalek. Shaul struck Amalek. Clearly differentiating what it said in Pasuk. Hey, in Pasuk it says, Vayorev Banachal. They quarreled in the valley. And here it says, Shaul struck Amalek. And in the middle, we've got this story of the Canaanite. So, was that the initial battle? But then why weren't the Canaanite told before the initial battle? It's three. There's a battle, and there's a bigger battle, and then in the middle we've got the story about Canaan. So Malbim has a fascinating take on this. Malbim says, it's amazing insight, that Shaul was under a bit of a political dilemma. Genocide was not accepted in the United Nations in those days, right? You couldn't just go and fight people for no reason, which is exactly what Amalek did to us. Well, why not? Just like you can't do it today. And the world does not accept.
But there wasn't the UN back then.
Oh, that's what you think, right? But there isn't a UN now either. Again, people, right? That means that there's world opinion, and I think that there was world opinion in those days as well, and it was politically unacceptable just to start up with Amalek. What do you want from these guys? Because 450 years ago they started with your ancestors. Come on, you got a grudge. You Jews never forgive. Is that what Jews are like? We're never going to forgive people, right? And what did they do? If you want the land, okay, that's acceptable. I agree. Against the United Nations, it's not. But for some reasons, only Israel is not allowed to do that, right? Every other country seems acceptable to go and conquer other people and keep it forever, right? Every country in the world has done that. Only Israel's not allowed to do that. Okay. But that was acceptable in those days. Alexander the Great did it, whoever stronger wins. But just to start for nothing, just to go and murder a whole nation and not even be interested in taking over the land, is just not accepted. And Shaul felt this problem, so he had to make a smoke screen to give an excuse for it. So he made a border dispute about this Nachal. He came with his army, like there's a whole time between Kathmandu and Punjabs, wherever they are in India and Bangladesh. There's always these like border disputes about this area of the country. Who does it really belong to? It's really part of what is it called?
Tower Town. No, Tower Town.
No, it's India and Pakistan, right? They're always fighting about the border, right? So that was what Shaul wanted to make this.
Great job, Britain.
Right? This
so much
wanted to make this look like a border dispute. to cover up his genocide of Amalek. So what did he do? The first thing you do is get into a fight. No war, not all-out war. Vayorev banachal means they had a dispute about the Nachal. The Nachal being the border between Israel and Amalek. He got into a fight. He said, this is ours. And they said, it's ours. It's ours. And they had a whole diplomatic... That was the first thing. There was no fighting in Pasuk A, right? Then they sent a message to the Canadian, okay, these guys are not accepting the terms of our demands. If they don't, there's a deadline, then we're going to fight. Okay, so you move out before we start the fight. The fighting only started in Pasuk 7. Now, the Malbim claims that this was actually, in a sense, the beginning of Shaul's downfall. Because if you do that, then you're taking away the whole point of the fight. If you make it look like a border dispute, or a border dispute that has become what's the word? Yes, that's the better word. It become out of control and become exaggerated, right? Then the world will not get the message that if you start up with God, you are going to get destroyed.
In fact, they'll get the message.
They'll get the wrong message. What they'll get the message is that fighting up with God is okay, but if you have a border dispute, then it's okay to go to war, right? Which is exactly the opposite. It means you're giving the message that you've got some claim against him. You didn't have any claim against him. Our claim is God. This is God's fight. In actual fact, you will be killing innocent people. What I mean is, if you kill these people for the right reason and they get the right message, then there's a purpose to the killing them. But just to kill them over a border dispute doesn't just, why are you killing these guys over a border dispute? We're going to give the world a message that Jews are allowed to go to war over border disputes. That may be true, you are allowed to, but you didn't have a border dispute, really. You just made one up. So the whole thing's going to get messed up because of this plan. So Shaul's like trying to cover himself from a political stance, a world opinion, right? But he's actually creating a Chilul Hashem, in a sense. He thinks he's... You understand?
But
he thinks it's a Chilul Hashem to go and kill all these Amalekites just for nothing, right? In a real sense, it's exactly the opposite. The real Kiddush Hashem will come by killing these Amalekites for nothing, which is because then they'll get the message because they're God's enemies. But it's a Chilul Hashem. The real Chilul Hashem was created by his cover up that wasn't. See? He's got it all wrong.
It's like what the Israeli government does nowadays. We can't do this. The world will hate us. Well, they're going to hate us anyway, so do the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's a very, very important message out of this very short puzzle by Yorev Benachal, which you would never have guessed without the Malbim helping you out in this. That there was a quarrel about the Nachal, which was the border between Amalek and Shaul. Then when that escalated, that was the word. When the border dispute escalated, Shaul said, okay, so now we're going to go to war. Told the Kenny to move out, and they went to war. And he killed all the Amalekites in the course of war, which in those days was acceptable. You know, Genghis Khan kill everybody in the course of war, right? And that was okay, as long as it's part of war. Why are you going to war? Because you want to conquer your land, or because you have a fight with you, have a dispute with you. Okay, so what do? Yach Shaul es Amalek, Shaul struck Amalek, Mechavila. That's just...
Wait.
Yes?
Where are we?
Pasuk Zayin. Yach Shaul es Amalek, Shaul struck Amalek. Chavila was a village at one end of the territory of Amalek. Bayach Ashur, as you come to Shur, that's another town on the other side, right? That's the possibly north-south limits of the area of Amalek. Asher al Panei Mitzrayim, which faces Egypt. So the area of Amalek faces the border with Egypt. Always here. Once you get to Egypt, you stop, because they're not Amalekites over there, they're Egyptians. Okay, that whole area was wiped out. Okay. Vayispois es Agag. This is Tofes. Tofes means to hold on to something. So he got hold of Agag. Who's Agag?
He's the king.
Very good. Melech Amalek, the king of Amalek, Chai, whilst he was still alive. So he wasn't killed in battle. He was captured alive. And he caught hold of him. Now, Haman is famous because Haman's called Haman HaAgagi. Same word. Because he was descendant of this fellow called Agag. Ve'eskal ha'am, and all the people, means all the rest of the people, men, women, children, babies. Hecherin, he banned, here it means to destroy, by the mouth of the sword. Okay, by English would say by the blade of the sword. Okay, in Hebrew it's called the mouth of the sword. Okay, so everyone's being killed except for one guy, the king.
That's like the first person.
Yeah.
Okay, but on the other hand, it's a diplomatic immunity. No, we'll have to see why. We'll have to. You be patient. You can't stop.
Because then you said Haman's descendant. So
Yeah, so you know that he's not going to get killed. Okay, yeah, I ruined the story. Okay, let's see. Vayachmol, sort of I did, but I did. Just give me a second. Vayachmol Shaul, and Shaul had pity. On what? Let's see. The Ha'am and the people. So Shaul and the people had pity al Agag. Pity to kill this good-looking king. I don't know why I had pity. Like, it was a pity, right? He's tall, handsome, right? Everybody else in the country we wiped out. There's one guy I had pity on. Like, why? Usually you have pity on it. It's cute, it's nice, it's a chavar, it's a pity, it's a pity to. Why just on this one? Be patient. Not just on Agag they had pity. Va'al meitav hatzoin, and the best of the sheep. Meitav is like the word tov, right? So the best of the sheep. V'habakar, and the best of the cattle, it means. The best, they had pity on it. V'hamishnim, now that could mean from the word sheni, right? Which would mean the second grade, but I don't know, second grade is not the best, is it? Right? So I heard someone else once read it means from the word shamen, which means the fat ones. But then the letters are in the wrong order. Shamen is shin mem nud. This is mem shin nud. But sometimes letters do change. Sometimes it's unusual. Like the word keves, which means a sheep. In one place the Torah calls it a kesev. Right? So sometimes letters change in order, and that's what it's meant to mean over here. So the best, some of them were the fattest. Now the fattest isn't always the best. Yes? Yes, amongst girls it might not be, but amongst cattle it is, right? A big fat cow is a big good cow, right? Okay. Could also be, it could be good in a different sense. Good for breeding, it could be good for plowing, it doesn't have to be fat, right? Right? Depends if you're going to eat it, right? Okay? So, Nishnim means fat ones. The al-hakorim. Now, korim really means a cushion. Now, it doesn't mean the cushions. It means like a big fat sheep with lots and lots of fleece. So it's like a cushion
Wool.
in that sense. Lots of wool,
It's
right?
like a clown.
What? Yes.
Clown.
So right. So the point is, it's like a big. It looks like a cushion. So it's called a cushion because it's big and fat. But it's not just a big fat cow. That's probably the mishnim. The korim are the big fat sheep because they look like big fat cushions. Now, kol even in anything good, maybe a Rembrandt or beautiful candelabra, it doesn't necessarily animals, right? They didn't want to destroy them. Why not? Chaval, right? As they say, it's pity to destroy something so good. Yes, it's true God said to destroy that stuff, but this is really pity to do that. Let's be patient. Give them a chance. We're not finished yet. Right? It's a bit silly, no? Yeah, I've always said it's a pity to destroy anything, isn't it? So why would you do? Yes, it's more of a pity to destroy a nice big fat cow.
God can make more.
How do you justify defying the word of God so blatantly? So let's carry on. Be patient. Any work or any activity or any object, what it really means. Nemivza, which was from bazui, means despise, something not of good quality. The names, now names really literally means to cafe names is coffee which is dissolves, right? Instant coffee. Instant coffee is called cafe names. So here it to dissolve, but not to, things don't dissolve. It means something which is worn out, which is on its way to dissolving. Anything which was weak or thin or not really worth, yeah? That guy got rid of. So the Jews only, Shaul, it doesn't say the Jews, Shaul and the people had pity on the best of the cattle, the best of the sheep, the best of other things, because they thought it was a pity to destroy that, but they did destroy everything else. Okay. But we don't yet know why they did this, because it seems to be a blatant violation of the instruction of God, and people don't usually do that. Even when Shaul didn't wait that whole week till Shmuel came. First of all, he waited till the last day. Second of all, he said, look, I'm under pressure, I'm under, how can I possibly, everyone's running away, there's no army left. Third of all, Shmuel didn't make it 100% clear that he meant to wait to bring the karbonos. Maybe he meant, you'll bring the karbonos and wait to start battle. It wasn't 100% clear, but how do you justify this? God said to destroy every man, woman, child. It's certainly Agag, like you said, he should have been number one to kill. And the fat sheep, it's true, it's a pity, but destroying anything's a pity. So how did they justify this? So you have to wait for the rest of the story to find out how they managed to justify doing it. Honestly, they're right, but how they justify it. The word of God was to Shmuel saying, that night. What did he say? Nichamti, I have regretted. Ki himlachti es Shaul HaMelech, that I coronated Shaul to be king. Changed my mind. Bad decision. Nichamti really means to have second thoughts, to think about it again. Ki shav me'acharai, because he has turned away. Shav, not shev. Shev is to sit. Shav, right? It means to do tshuva, but here it's the opposite. Right? Tshuva just means to go back. That's where you came from, right? So he's gone back from my following me. Ve'ez devarai lo hikim. He hasn't established my instructions, my words. God didn't have to elaborate anymore. Shaul hasn't done what I told him to do. Vayicha li Shmuel, and this. Now, people might wrongly translate this to anger Shmuel. No. When we say Vayichar af means to anger. Charon af is anger. Af is anger. Charon af means burning anger. So really Vayichar Shmuel means it burnt Shmuel. Right? But not that he got angry. Shmuel doesn't get angry with God. That's silly. Right? It means he got really, really upset. That's what it means.
He got upset with Shaul.
With Shaul. He was really sad, really upset that this had happened. Vayizak el Hashem, and he cried out to God, Kol halayla, all the night. He was hoping that through his prayers, Shaul would be forgiven or given another chance. Maybe he is. I don't know.
So this is Shmuel.
This is Shmuel crying out, not crying as in livkot.
Yeah.
Crying out as in, God, please don't do this, because he feels very close to Shaul. He's the one who appointed him to, right? And we worked hard to pick the right guy, and he's given instructions and advice, and they've worked together on so many different things. And now Shaul's gone and messed up. This is actually the second time he's messed up, right? Vayash came. What?
The 3 strikes are out.
Vayash came Shmuel, and Shmuel got up early. Likras Shaul, to go towards Shaul. Vaboker in the morning. Vayugad li Shmuel, and it was told to Shmuel, Lamar saying, Ba Shaul HaKermela, Shaul has gone to the Carmel. Now, people usually think that going to Carmel means going up to Haifa, right? Because that's where Mount Carmel is.
But that's in today's word.
No, it's always been there.
It's always called Mount Carmel?
Always. A very famous story happening on Mount Carmel, we'll see later on. Now, Amalek is down here. Amalek here is down here somewhere. Here, Amalek, right? Today it's called near Beersheba, it's the desert. It was always desert, but that's why Amalek lived around it. Now, it wasn't just over here. Though Edom, Amalek is a part of Edom. Edom are the descendants of Esav, Amalek are the descendants of Eliphaz, who was one of Esav's sons. Okay?
Which one? The oldest one.
Eliphaz.
Oldest?
No, Eliphaz was one of Esav's sons.
Okay.
Now, Edom's whole territory is down here. What today is Beersheba southward down to Eilat.
Coastline or not?
Yeah, all the way. I think down to Eilat, right? And also in southern part of Jordan. And what's it called? That big red thing in the desert. You've been there, no?
Oh, Petra.
Petra, right? Petra was in Edom, right? One of the reasons why it's called Edom is because the rocks are red, right? Edom is red, right? In the Chumash it says he's called Edom because he ate the red soup, right?
These rocks are red, like
The area of Edom is the rocks.
In Petra.
Yeah, Petra.
Jordan.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Even Ma'ale Adumim, which is just out here, has also got the name because the ground is more reddish than other places.
Yeah, it's in Jordan. It's better than the pyramids.
Better than pyramids.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is where they live. This whole area down here, south of Beersheba, this southern part of Israel is all Edom. This part is Amalek on the way to Egypt, and this is where Shaul attacked them. Now Mount Carmel is up here, near Haifa. Haifa is on Mount Carmel. To think that Shaul went all the way up there just to say thank you to God is a bit unlikely. Could have done, but why go there? But later on, it became a very, very famous site where there was a showdown between Rabbi HaNavi and the prophets of Baal, right? And that's where the Carmelite nuns have a nunnery up there, because that's what they're called, Carmelite from Carmel. Okay, there's another place here in the desert there called Carmel. Can you see?
Yeah.
It says there, Carmel, and next to Utah, not in
Texas.
right? Yeah, no, it's here, Carmel. So it's probably there, right? You know, the battle takes place here, and this is all desert. And this is the closest town. It's not so far. It's very unlikely you went there.
That's like Jerusalem, no?
Well, it's a bit south. It's southeast of Hebron. Here's Hebron, right? South or southeast of Hebron, called Carmel. Okay. That's probably what it is. Later on, we'll find David marries a woman from there as well, also probably there. It could be up here, right? And you never know. This is Carmel, this is Carmel, this is the town called Carmel, this is the mountain called Carmel. It doesn't say. Anyway, Shmuel was told that Shaul had gone to the Carmel, HaKarmela, to the place.
Is that where the Shuk name comes from, in Tel Aviv? There's a Shuk called
Shaul HaKarmel?
Yeah.
Don't know, because it's, don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same word for sure.
Yeah.
Right? The Hine, behold, this is all what Shmuel has been told about Shaul. Hine, matziv lo yad. He is erecting for himself a hand. Matziv, as in nitzavim, as in Shaul's Lot's wife became a nitziv, a pillar, so he's making himself a pillar, erecting himself a yad. Now, yad literally means a hand, and it might actually be something monument that looked like a hand. It could just be another word for a monument, like Yad Vashem. Why is it called Yad Vashem? There's no hand there, right? It just in the Tanach, it's used as a word for a monument. Now, it could be monuments of hands. Yad Avshalom, which is another monument here. Some say that it used to have a thing sticking out the top in the shape of a hand, and it was knocked off by some cannonball during the Napoleon Wars. Okay, so it could be in the olden days a monument was a hand. It could also be because what Yad? Yes, what we just read at the end of Kisetse, we were given instructions about to wipe out Amalek. We were told. It says like this. Wrong. Then in Parshas B'Shalach, where the story happened. Here it is. Ki yad al keis ka milcham al Hashem b'amalim midor dor. For the hand is on the throne of God. Hashem maintains a war against Amalek from generation to generation. So it's symbolic of God's hand, who is in his war against Amalek. So maybe that's why he put a hand. Let's just finish the sentence. So he's been told that Shaul is erecting a monument in Carmel in order to thank God for his victory against Amalek and his success of being able to fulfill his plan. In Shaul's mind, everything's gone fine. He has no idea that he's done something wrong. You and I think, but this is obvious. How can you possibly think that you didn't do anything wrong? It's clear you did something wrong. Shaul doesn't think like that. So we'll have to know, why does Shaul think it's okay? To the extent he's going to thank God and make a monument on his victory, and he's very proud of what he's done. So he went around, and Shaul turned around, Shmuel, Vaya'avor, and he passed, Vayered at Gilgal. He went down to Gilgal, which is obviously somewhere.
South.
No. Very wrong. It means, Shaul went to erect a monument, and then after erecting the monument, he's gone around and now in Gilgal. So if you want to meet him, you have to meet him in Gilgal. This is another proof that Carmel is not in Haifa, because he wouldn't have gone from Carmel and Haifa to Gilgal. I mean, he could have done, but again, he's gone all the way up and he's come all the way down, right? But if Carmel is near Gilgal down there, it makes more sense. So you've gone from one and now he's moved to that, and that's where you'll find him if you want to get him.
Which one's around?
Like Yisov, he's gone around like a Sevivon. What's a Sevivon?
Dreidel.
Dreidel. Supposed to go around.